Let's talk about a writing lesson that you're planning to teach on the CELTA course. First of all, let us talk about the lesson framework. So there are two types of lesson frameworks that we could use when we're teaching writing. One of them is a product approach, and one of them is a process approach. So let us talk about the product approach lesson framework first. What this means is that we have a model text that we show to students, which is an example of what they are going to produce by the end of the lesson. And usually this would follow such stages. We would first have our lead in to set the context of the lesson. It should be quick because we want to save time for the final writing. The next thing is reading one. This is usually reading for gist. Again, a quick stage. Students are reading the text for gist, and at the same time, they are getting familiar with the way the text is organized. It is possible to do the second reading in a writing lesson, but when you just have 45 minutes, you really want to save time for the final productive writing stage. Therefore, I'm not going to put it down here, as on the CELTA course, you're teaching a 45-minute lesson. The next stage that we have is either called focus on sub-skills, or you could also call this clarification of useful features. What we mean by clarification of useful features is we're going to help the students with those features that they need for successfully writing the specific type of writing we want to focus on. So this can include features of layout, register, so which style they need to use, formal, informal, semi-formal. Then this could include language, for example, some linkers you want them to use if they are writing a recipe, so they would need to use linkers to show what comes next. For example, first of all, then after this, finally. So these are the linkers that they would need to successfully complete the task. This is what you can focus on, other things as well here. So the next thing that comes, the next stage is brainstorming or preparation for writing. Productive task, preparation. This could be done individually. So you provide students with a task and they have some time to take notes, to jot down some ideas, or you could put them in pairs and they could help each other with ideas. The next stage is actually the most important stage in our lesson. This is the productive task, writing, the actual writing. So this is where students are going to work individually and write what you want them to be writing, hopefully following the features that you clarified. When we talk about clarification of useful features, don't get overexcited and don't turn this into a language lesson. So take the key things that you want to focus on and ensure that you do this rather quickly, because this is where we want to be spending most of our time. Clearly, when we're talking about the productive task, there should be tasks set up. So you set the task. And most probably here, you're just going to remind students of what the task is because you told them what the task was going to be, right? Or you just told them to prepare ideas. So either you remind them of the task or you are setting the task. Then students write individually. And following this, their students read each other's work. This is something that we call feedback on content. So if, for example, students were writing an email applying for a job, when they finished writing, you can say, now you're going to read other people's writing, and could you decide who gets the job? So only one person gets the job. Can you vote whose email is the best? And they choose. This way they read each other's work and we are doing feedback on content. It is also very important while setting the task here to set a clear communicative purpose. So why are the students writing? Because you want to get the job, or you want to invite somebody over, or you want to win something. So there should be a clear communicative purpose. And when students are reading each other's work, they are going to be working against the communicative purpose. So who do you think gets the job? Who do you think won? Or who deserves to get the scholarship? While students are writing, you monitor to help them in case you see that someone is not writing, someone is experiencing difficulties, and this is especially important if you're teaching online. And you might also be helping with some ideas, and this also helps you see how much time students need to finish up. Finally comes the feedback on language. This is the language that you collect while students are writing. You take notes. These could be good examples of language, examples that need to be improved, maybe some spelling mistake. So this is one of the writing frameworks that we can follow. The other framework is called a process approach. Okay, so here, of course, we start with a quick lead-in. Okay. Then we carry on with brainstorming of ideas. So you can put students into pairs or into small groups to brainstorm ideas, and they jot down what they talk about. And then comes the next stage. This is called organization of ideas. So here students decide on how they want to organize their ideas. They could rewrite some things. They can decide which things are more important to write about, which things can be left out. Then comes drafting. So here they start and they try and draft the task, let's say an email of complaint. So they draft it. Following this, there is editing. Here you can focus more on the relevant aspects of the type of writing. So you can say, okay, guys, so it would be good to include some linkers here. Or it would be good if you were writing in paragraphs. Let's decide on how to arrange the writing. Your writing is a bit too formal and you're writing an email to a friend. So let's possibly make it more informal. Let's decide how we can do that. Whatever you feel is important. Then comes revising. So here students go back to their draft and following the things that you talked about in editing or in, we can also call this evaluating. Following these, they improve their drafts based on feedback they got. They can do it in pairs, in groups, whichever way. And finally, we get the final version. So the final writings. Again, individually, they write a final version, answering the question, doing the task. So these are the two types of writing lesson frameworks that you can follow when teaching a lesson. Don't forget that the CELTA lesson is usually just 45 minutes. And this means that you should be realistic about what type of writing you want students to complete. Because of course, ideally, we want students to write in class. If you were, for example, to choose an essay, which is an essay where you want them to write at least 250 words, well, this is not doable in a 45-minute lesson. You can teach them how to write a recipe, how to write an email, how to maybe draft an email. Now, how to let students actually write when we're teaching online. For this, you could use Google Documents, and I'm going to show you how that can be done. So I have created a folder for myself called Writing Lesson. You can create a folder for yourself called TP3, TP5, TP7. You can write TP5 students writing, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Now, there are two ways how you can go about this. One of the ways is to create a Google document. You can call it Students Writing. And here you are going to create a place for each student to write in. You could create a table, for instance. Let's say I have 6 students. So I'm going to make it bigger. You could add shapes as well and have separate shapes for students to write in. So you just make it bigger. Okay. And in each shape, you write John's writing, Helen's writing, Sam's writing. You write it for each student. If you have 6, if you have 7, doesn't matter. Then what you do is, in preparation for the lesson, you click share and you want to get the link. So you need to change to anyone with the link. So click that. And here, this is very important because if you don't do this, during the lesson, when students will be clicking the link, they will not be able to write there. And this usually leads to stress and wasting time because we're trying to find how to deal with that. So here you need to click on editor. So click that. Now copy the link, put it on your lesson plan. And during the lesson, you're going to share this link with students on the Zoom chat, or if you're using WhatsApp to share materials with students, or through email, whatever way. So every single student is going to come here and they will see this. They will find their name. So Helen will come here and she will be writing here. And everyone will see what's happening in real time. It will be very easy to monitor. One downside of using this approach is that every single student can see the other students writing. Those who are not very good writers or not the strongest students might feel a bit uncomfortable that, for example, John is finishing and I'm just on the first paragraph, you know. So another thing that you can do is, let's say again, I have 4 students and I'm going to create 4 documents. So if you have 8 students, you create 8 documents. You have 9 students, you create 9 documents. You have 5 students, you create 5 documents. Then each document gets a student's name. So for example, Sam's writing comes here, Helen's writing comes here, John's writing, Emily's writing. Now, the same way that I showed you in the previous document where everything was in one document, you need to click share. Again, change to anyone with the link, click on that, click editor, copy the link, put it on your lesson plan, click done. Okay. Same thing with Helen's writing. Click share, change to everyone with the link, click editor, copy link, put it on your lesson plan, write Helen's link and paste it. Okay. Same thing with John's. So share, change it to editor, copy link. Don't forget to click done. Copy the link, write John, paste it, and then you will share the link. So you've done this for each and every student. Now on your lesson plan, you have got a separate link for each student. I have got documents for all students here. During the lesson, you say, John, please open this link. So you just copy paste it from your documents and you say to your students, take the link that you need, follow it and do your writing there. During the lesson, when you want to monitor, you're going to open each student's document, okay, here, and you're going to be going here and there, jumping between these, taking notes on the language you want to focus on. You can unmute yourself, for example, and say, oh, Sam, are you okay? Are you writing? Where are you? I can't see you writing for a minute already. Are you fine? Do you need help? It does happen sometimes that students still cannot open the links or they can't see it. So again, try to think of plan B and C. So if you have your students' emails, you could email them the link because they can access this document, even if they're not using a laptop, which is highly preferable, but they can access it from their phones, from their iPads, tablets, whichever device. In case you tried everything, you sent it to WhatsApp, you sent it to the Zoom chat, you sent it to their emails, and it's still not opening, they can't see it or whatever. So 90% of cases, it's going to work with the links which you prepare before the lesson. But if not, then you could ask the student to write on paper, which you will not be able to monitor, which is not that good, then take a picture and send it to you. But again, I would highly recommend going with the Google Documents, thinking about anticipated problems and solutions in terms of setting up and managing the writing task. So everyone can be writing in the Google document. Right? So good luck with your writing lesson.